The day Earth screamed. Dr. Maya Chen stared at the radio telescope data streaming across her monitor at the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence facility in New Mexico. After 20 years of listening to cosmic silence, the signals appearing on her screen defied everything she understood about space communication. The patterns were too complex for natural phenomena, too structured for random noise. "This can't be right," she whispered, adjusting her glasses and leaning closer. The mathematical sequences embedded in the transmission showed clear signs of artificial intelligence. More importantly, they were heading directly toward Earth's solar system. Commander Alex Rivera received the emergency call at 300 hours while reviewing patrol schedules for the newly formed Earth Defense Force. The Space Force had been humanity's answer to growing concerns about asteroid threats and space debris. None of their training had prepared them for actual alien contact. "Sir, we have multiple bogies entering the outer solar system," reported Lieutenant Zara Okafor from the communications station. "TZTI confirms the signals are artificial in origin. Estimated arrival time at Earth orbit is 72 hours. Rivera rubbed his tired eyes and studied the tactical display. 17 objects, each roughly the size of a city block, moving at velocities that made human spacecraft look like children's toys. "Get me a direct line to SETI. We need to know everything they know about these signals." Dr. Chen was already packing her research when Rivera's call came through. Within 6 hours, she found herself aboard the Orbital Defense Station Vigilance, humanity's most advanced outpost and their first line of defense against the unknown. The alien vessels appeared on visual scanners 18 hours ahead of schedule. They were nothing like the sleek designs of science fiction movies. These ships looked organic, almost grown rather than built, with smooth curves and surfaces that seemed to shift color depending on the angle of observation. "They're beautiful," whispered Zara, manning the communications array. She had been trying to establish contact since the ships entered sensor range, broadcasting mathematical sequences, prime numbers, and basic pictographs in every frequency imaginable. The response came not as radio waves or laser communications, but as a direct neural interface that somehow bypassed their communication systems entirely. Every human on the station heard the voice inside their head simultaneously, speaking in perfect English, despite never having encountered the language before. "We are the Veltheri. We come seeking sanctuary. Our worlds burn behind us. The Kethvar Empire consumes all in their path. You must flee. They follow us here." Dr. Chen felt her hands trembling as she activated the recording equipment. First contact with an alien species, and their message was a warning. "Can you tell us more about this Kethvar Empire? What do they want?" The response carried emotions that felt alien yet recognizable. Fear, desperation, and overwhelming sadness flooded through the mental link. "They seek resources and territory. They view all other life as obstacles to be removed. Your species shows promise, but you are not ready for what comes. We have seen 1,000 worlds fall. Yours will be next unless you run." Commander Rivera stepped forward, his military training overriding the awe of the moment. "We won't abandon our home. Can your people help us defend Earth?" The pause felt like an eternity. When the Veltheri responded, their mental voice was heavy with regret. "Our ships are damaged. Our weapons spent. We barely escaped with our lives. The Kethvar fleet that pursues us numbers in the thousands. They have technology that can shatter planets. We tried to fight. We failed." Over the next 48 hours, the Veltheri shared what intelligence they could about the approaching threat. The Kethvar Empire had been expanding across the galaxy for over 3 millennia, systematically conquering or destroying every civilization they encountered. Their military doctrine was simple but effective. Overwhelming force applied without mercy until all resistance ceased. Dr. Chen worked frantically with the Veltheri to understand their technology, hoping to find some advantage that could be adapted to Earth's defense. The aliens' knowledge was vast, but their warning proved accurate. Humanity's technology was centuries behind even the weakest Kethvar weapons. Earth's governments mobilized every available resource. Nuclear submarines surfaced to launch ballistic missiles fitted with hastily constructed targeting systems. Fighter jets were modified with experimental energy shields based on Veltheri designs. Space stations were converted into weapons platforms using technology humanity barely understood. The HFY fleet arrived like a storm of metal and energy. Over 3,000 vessels of various sizes emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Unlike the organic curves of Veltheri ships, HFY vessels were angular and predatory, covered in weapon arrays and sensor spines that made them look like mechanical insects. Admiral Kethmore, commanding the invasion fleet from his flagship Dominion's Edge, studied the tactical data with cold efficiency. The third planet showed signs of primitive civilization. Radio emissions, orbital structures, and military movements indicated a species that had recently achieved spaceflight but remained bound to their homeworld. Standard Conquest Protocol, he ordered his tactical officers. Disable all orbital defenses, destroy military installations, then commence planetary bombardment. Complete sterilization in 48 hours. We have other systems to cleanse. The battle for Earth lasted exactly 17 minutes. Human missiles and energy weapons struck harmlessly against HFY shields that had been tested against civilizations far more advanced than humanity. Return fire came in the form of plasma beams that could cut through Earth's most sophisticated armor like paper. The International Space Station vanished in a ball of superheated gas. The vigilance lasted 3 more minutes before succumbing to focused bombardment. Dr. Chen watched from an escape pod as the station died around her, taking Commander Rivera and most of the crew with it. Zara floated beside her, unconscious from decompression injuries, barely alive in her emergency suit. Through the pod's small viewport, Maya watched as Earth's orbital defenses crumbled one by one. The planetary bombardment began at dawn in Asia. Massive energy beams descended from orbit, each one capable of leveling entire cities. Beijing, Tokyo, Mumbai, and Delhi became craters of molten glass within the first hour. The assault moved westward with the planet's rotation, methodically erasing humanity's greatest achievements. In underground bunkers hastily constructed during the brief warning period, survivors huddled around radio equipment, listening to increasingly desperate broadcasts from around the globe. Emergency frequencies carried fragments of information. Moscow gone, London burning, New York's defense grid overwhelmed. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a former NASA engineer, found herself leading the group of 200 survivors in a converted mine shaft in Colorado. They had enough supplies for 6 months and communication equipment that still functioned despite the electromagnetic interference from the orbital bombardment. This is Dr. Sarah Mitchell broadcasting on emergency frequency 121.5. She spoke into the microphone, hoping someone somewhere could hear. If anyone is receiving this transmission, please respond. We are alive. We are human. We remember. Similar broadcasts echoed from hidden bunkers around the world. A submarine crew in the Pacific, scientists in an Antarctic research station, miners in Australia who had been trapped below ground when the attack began, scattered pockets of humanity bearing witness to their species' apparent extinction. The Veltheri ships, damaged and defenseless, were destroyed during the first wave of the attack. Their final transmission reached the human survivors through the jury-rigged equipment they had left behind. Remember us. Remember that some fought against the darkness. The galaxy will be poorer for the loss of both our peoples. On the 4th day, the bombardment stopped. Admiral Kethmore surveyed the smoking ruin that had once been Earth through his flagship's sensors. Atmospheric analysis showed toxic levels of radiation and particulate matter. Ocean temperatures had risen by 15 degrees globally. No life signs registered on any scanner. Planet sterilization complete, reported his tactical officer. All population centers eliminated. Biosphere collapse imminent. Estimated time until complete ecosystem failure, 37 standard days. Admiral Kethmore nodded with satisfaction. Another primitive species eliminated, another world claimed for the Empire. His fleet would move on to catalog the system's resources before departing for the next target. The Kethvar had more pressing concerns than monitoring the death throes of a backward civilization. In her underground shelter, Dr. Mitchell listened to the silence above. No more explosions. No more screaming atmosphere as energy beams carved through the sky. For the first time in 4 days, Earth was quiet. But silence, she realized, was not the same as surrender. In bunkers and caves and hidden shelters around the world, humans were still alive, still thinking, still remembering. The Kethvar had won the battle, but they had made one crucial mistake. They had left survivors, and survivors, Dr. Mitchell knew from human history, had a tendency to become something else entirely. They became very, very dangerous. The human phoenix rises. 15 years had passed since the day Earth burned, and the galaxy had forgotten that humans ever existed. The Kethvar Empire had cataloged Earth as Planet K347, sterilized, resources pending extraction, filing it away with thousands of other conquered worlds. But in the darkness between stars, in asteroid fields and abandoned mining stations, in the hollowed cores of dead moons, humanity had not only survived but evolved into something the galaxy had never seen before. Captain Sarah Mitchell stood on the observation deck of Haven Station, watching the traffic flow through the main docking bay. What had started as a desperate refuge carved into a massive asteroid had grown into humanity's secret capital. 3 million survivors from Earth and their children now called this place home. Ghost Leader to Haven Control, crackled the voice over the comm system. Phantom Squadron returning from reconnaissance. We have new intelligence on Kethvar fleet movements in Sector 7. Sarah smiled as she recognized the voice of Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Webb, one of her best pilots. The Ghost Fleet represented humanity's greatest achievement over the past decade and a half. Using salvaged Kethvar technology combined with human innovation, they had created vessels that operated on principles the Empire couldn't understand. Dr. James Park joined Sarah at the observation window, carrying a data pad filled with his latest research. Once a biomedical engineer from Seoul, he had become humanity's leading expert on Kethvar technology and their greatest weakness, predictability. The new cloaking systems are testing at 97% efficiency, he reported, gesturing toward a sleek vessel entering the bay. To most sensors, the ship would appear to be nothing more than space debris. The Kethvar detection algorithms can't adapt fast enough to our modifications. Sarah nodded, studying the ghost ship as its pilot guided it to dock. These vessels bore no resemblance to the crude human spacecraft of the past. They were elegant, deadly, and completely invisible to Kethvar sensors. More importantly, they were crewed by humans who had spent 15 years learning to think like survivors. Marcus Webb removed his helmet as he exited his ship, his face bearing the marks of someone who had seen too much war. He had been a commercial pilot before the invasion, flying cargo runs between Earth and the Moon. Now he commanded humanity's most elite strike force. "Brief me," Sarah said as they walked toward the command center. Haven Station had been carved from a metallic asteroid rich in rare elements, its corridors lined with a mixture of salvaged alien technology and human engineering. The result was functional but distinctly human in its chaotic efficiency. "We've confirmed the intelligence from our asset in the Veltheri refugee camps," Marcus reported. "Admiral Kethmore himself is overseeing the annexation of the Centauri colonies. His flagship is operating with minimal escort, and they're using standard patrol patterns." Dr. Park pulled up a holographic display showing the Kethvar fleet movements. "This is our opportunity. Kethmore was the one who ordered Earth's destruction. If we can capture or kill him, it sends a message that humanity is not extinct." Sarah studied the tactical information, her mind racing through possibilities. For 15 years, they had been building toward this moment. The scattered survivors had been united under a single goal: make the galaxy remember that humans existed and that they were not to be underestimated. The Ghost Fleet consisted of 47 vessels, each one crewed by survivors who had lost everything to the Kethvar Empire. They had spent years learning alien technology, adapting it, and improving it in ways that its original creators never imagined. Human minds, it turned out, excelled at unconventional solutions. "How many ships in Kethmore's escort?" Sarah asked. 12 heavy cruisers, standard formation. They're following a predictable patrol route through the asteroid fields of Kepler 442. Perfect hunting ground for ghost tactics. Sarah made her decision. "Prep the fleet. We leave in 6 hours." But this isn't just about revenge anymore. It's time the galaxy learned that reports of humanity's extinction were greatly exaggerated. The Ghost Fleet departed Haven Station using exit vectors that would make them appear to be natural asteroids drifting through space. Each ship carried crews who had trained together for over a decade, perfecting tactics that no military academy in the galaxy taught. The humans had learned something crucial during their years in exile. Conventional warfare was for species that fought conventionally. Humans, desperate and innovative, had developed an entirely different approach to combat. Admiral Kethmore stood on the bridge of his flagship, reviewing reports from the Centauri occupation. The local resistance had been eliminated with typical efficiency, and resource extraction could begin within the standard time frame. Another successful campaign for the glory of the Empire. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "long-range sensors are detecting debris fields consistent with ancient battle sites. Nothing of strategic value." Kethmore barely acknowledged the report. Asteroid fields and debris were common in conquered systems. The Empire's expansion had left thousands of graveyards scattered across the galaxy. What the Kethvar sensors couldn't detect was that the debris was moving with purpose. 7 ghost ships had positioned themselves along the fleet's patrol route, their adaptive camouflage making them indistinguishable from space junk. Each ship carried enough firepower to cripple a Kethvar cruiser, but their real advantage lay in coordination and unpredictability. Ghost Leader to all units, Marcus transmitted on encrypted frequencies that the Kethvar couldn't monitor. Targets confirmed. Remember, hit fast, hit hard, disappear before they can respond. These are the beings who burned our world. Show them what humans learned in the ashes. The attack began when the Kethvar flagship passed through what appeared to be an empty region of space. The ghost ships shed their camouflage simultaneously, unleashing concentrated particle beams at the escort vessel's most vulnerable points. Years of studying captured Kethvar technology had revealed weaknesses in their shield matrices that even they didn't know existed. 3 heavy cruisers died in the first 10 seconds, their crews never seeing the attackers. The remaining ships tried to form defensive formations, but the Ghost Fleet had already vanished back into apparent debris, only to emerge from completely different vectors. Admiral Kethmore watched in disbelief as his escort fleet was systematically dismantled by an enemy that fought like no opponent he had ever encountered. "Identify the attacking vessels," he demanded. "Unknown ship types." "Admiral, their technology doesn't match any known civilization in our databases. They appear and disappear at will, using attack patterns that violate standard tactical doctrine." The flagship's shields flared as concentrated fire struck from 6 different angles simultaneously. Damage reports flooded in as human weapons, designed to exploit specific vulnerabilities in Kethvar technology, began tearing through defenses that had withstood the weapons of a dozen species. "Surrender your ship," came a transmission in perfect Kethvar language. "This is Captain Sarah Mitchell of the Human Federation. You are outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Admiral Kethmore felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of conquest: genuine fear. Humans were supposed to be extinct. He had personally overseen their extermination 15 years ago. Yet here they were, commanding technology that surpassed his own and tactics that turned his military experience into a liability. "Impossible," he whispered. "We destroyed their world. We confirmed the sterilization. You destroy our home." Sarah's voice continued over the comm. "But you forgot something important about humans. We adapt. We survive. And we remember." The battle ended when the last HFY escort ship surrendered rather than face destruction. Admiral Moore found himself being escorted to a ghost ship's holding cell, his mighty flagship now operated by humans who treated his advanced technology like toys they had mastered years ago. As the ghost fleet prepared to depart, Sarah recorded a message that would be broadcast on every frequency the HFY Empire monitored. The transmission included visual confirmation of Admiral Moore's capture and detailed scans of the destroyed escort fleet. "This is Captain Sarah Mitchell of the Human Federation," she began, staring directly into the recording device. 15 years ago, you believed you had eliminated our species. You were wrong. We survived. We learned. We grew stronger. This attack is proof that humanity endures, and we are coming for you." The message concluded with coordinates for a neutral trading station, where Admiral Moore could be retrieved in exchange for formal recognition of human sovereignty and reparations for the destruction of Earth. Dr. Park, monitoring HFY communication channels from Haven Station, watched as panic spread through the Empire's command structure. An extinct species had returned with superior technology and tactics. Military analysts struggled to understand how humans had not only survived but developed capabilities that exceeded their own. "They're requesting emergency sessions of the High Command," he reported to the assembled leadership of the Human Federation. "Intelligence suggests they're considering formal diplomatic contact rather than military retaliation." Sarah smiled as she reviewed the reports. The galaxy had spent 15 years forgetting that humans existed. Now they would spend the next 15 years learning what humans could accomplish when pushed to the edge of extinction. The HFY Empire, for the first time in 3 millennia, had encountered a species that refused to be conquered. And in the depths of space, in hidden colonies and secret shipyards, humanity was just getting started. The galaxy was about to discover that the most dangerous humans were the ones who had nothing left to lose except their determination to survive.